Welcome, friends, to Saga Thursday. I'm your host, Rodge. Today we got a very special episode coming to us all the way from Poland. We have Chris and Jan. How's it going, guys?
It's great.
Hello.
Awesome.
Hey, guys.
So, yeah, it's going to be a very special episode. We're going to talk about the Polish Saga community and then talk a little bit about tournaments and stuff like that. I know you guys are up to something in that regards, but why don't we start with you, Chris, maybe. Can you talk about your background a little bit, maybe in wargaming and what led you to Saga?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. So I actually got started with historical wargaming. First game I played almost 15 years ago was DBA. So I played that for a bit, Lord of the Rings, dabbled a bit with 40K, and then basically for the last 5-6 years, switched mainly into historical wargaming, so in particular Saga.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, now Saga kind of straddles the line of historical wargaming. Mm-hmm. Is that your opinion as well on that?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think it's one of those games where you can sort of make of it what you want to. You can either, fastidiously research your army and, make sure everything's completely historically legitimate, really try and tell a story, really try and play a historically correct army, or, you can be a bit more fantastical version of it. So.
Yeah, that's kind
of... It's more legendary.
Yeah.
In the case of Saga.
The myths and the legends and the tall tales, kind of. So
yeah,
cool. Well, Jan, what's your kind of background on this?
Well, I'm a bit younger than Chris, but I also get into wargaming early. It was when the first Lothar strategy battle game was announced by Games Workshop. So I got into it heavily. And then I got into both Warhammers through it, but I found
their plan worked.
I found the rule sets a bit boring, so I tried to research the wargaming scene. So I found several historical games. They are not so popular in our community as wargamers, but then I found a niche with Saga, and it was 2015, I suppose, late 2015.
Good, cool. So what was it about Saga that hooked you guys, would you say?
Whoa, so many topics to discuss.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I should just begin.
Absolutely.
Well, you ask about what in the rules is
what drew you in,
Yeah, well, I suppose the very concept of using and utilizing Saga dice and battle boards, because, when you have just rosters and just a strict main set of rules to apply to these rosters, there is always the danger of killer rosters being introduced into this wargaming system. And in Saga, when you have battle boards, when you have Saga dice, just like in real history or legends, you can have the best roster, you can have the best army, and then everything falls apart because you failed to manage your resources. So it kind of reminds me RTS games, which I played as a kid, and it's the fun factor now. It comes because, of course, because of the sentimental those sentimental way, but also because this unpredictability, this thing that you can't just plan everything from one turn into another is the best thing for me.
That's cool. Yeah, I totally agree. And it's interesting though that some people that'd be like the biggest turnoff because they want to be able to they want to be able to plan out everything in advance and plan the killer list and have everything work out perfectly executed. So there are some games like that which will remain nameless for our purposes. But Chris, is it the same for you, would you say?
I don't know. I'd say a bit different. I mean, for me, the thing that got me interested was just I think a friend of my gaming club in university brought Saga along one time. It just looked like a fun historical skirmish game. I got an army, collected, put together a Viking army. It was pretty easy to get started with that. And then I think the game mechanics, as Jan was saying, the battle boards, the Saga dice, managing the resources, and also like the unique abilities that gave each faction its flavor. That's really what kept me. That's what kept me interested.
Awesome.
Through, almost 6 years now.
It's a long time Saga files. So I just have kind of one more personal question for you guys. So what factions do you play? Are you more hobbyists or gamers? Would you say do you have a big painted model collections, or I guess what does it look like at your hobby desk and your Saga figs?
Well, it was very special for me that this legendary aspect in Saga is very important. So at first, when I met with players who played the first edition, I thought that it would be a fun way to collect an army which did not had its own set of rules and take a battle board which could connect into it in a historical accurate way. So I can say that I was one of the guys who played Cilician Armenians before it was cool.
All right.
So I basically collected Cilician Armenian historically accurate army in the first edition, and I played them as Rus princes because all those Druzhina mechanics really fitted into historical background of Armenians and their lone-like squads patrolling mountains in Cilicia to fight Saracens and Byzantine traitors. So I get very emotional speaking about this because it's kind of personal. Yes, so I got a lot of them and some Age of the Vikings also models. But currently I'm working on a project with about 3 armies from Great Prussian Uprising. I don't know if you know about it, but basically it was a big pagan uprising against Teutonic Order, and it goes very much against this, highly pure Teutonic propaganda which we can see in medieval art or medieval communities. Medieval fans of medieval history. Sorry for my poor English. So I'm trying to collect now the tribes which went on an uprising against the Teutons, the Teutonic Knights, and the Poles, who were also like the third side of the conflict.
Cool. Yeah, it sounds like you're definitely all in on that hobby aspect.
Yeah, that's right. I try to convert as many models as I can because then every unit feels unique. For example, if when I got my first box of heavy Arab cavalry, I strapped all the shields to their backs and chose all the heads so they have beards, because it was told that Armenians should have beards, otherwise they were not men. So each head with mustache or without facial hair was basically discarded like that.
Okay, interesting. I was going to ask too, like what models you use for Armenians, like how many manufacturers are out there, but it sounded like you converted most or all of those.
I'm converting them mainly from Arabs, plastic Arabs from Greek Pink Beast, but I'm also putting like Dark Age warriors into infantry because they got those strappy things on their legs, and it is much more mountaineer,
Putties, I think they're called.
How?
Putties.
Yes. Okay, patties. So they have these patties on their legs, and it feels much more Highlander. And these were Asia Minor Highlanders, so to speak. So basically, Dark Age warriors, Arab heavy cavalry, and several metal elements, but from Norman list, because there were several Frankish commanders between Armenians who they went with the First Crusade from Western Europe, and then they left the main group. They went to Edessa when the first crusading state was erected, like founded.
Cool.
So.
Yeah, so you know a lot of what's going on over there. Chris, are you? How do you stack up to Jan here?
I'd say I'm first and foremost a gamer. I mean, for me, I guess it's always been about the whole experience. So having, maybe not like nicely painted miniatures on a well put together, diorama or scenery, like and playing a fun game. I've always been sort of about the big picture. But I think so. I paint to game. That's like I paint. I want to make sure that I'm playing with painted models. That's always been a big thing for me. Mm-hmm. But then I think for me a big thing is also has always been the story behind the particular faction. So, and I've always got I've got sort of a personal connection to a lot of the factions I play with. So, for example, my first love in Saga has been the Welsh. I've collected them for about four years now, give or take. And the reason for this was because I studied in Wales, and I really had a personal connection to that faction. Cool. I've enjoyed playing them immensely.
Some tough going early on, the early days.
Yeah, but well, we basically the first couple of years of playing, I was just playing friendly games, so I wasn't too bothered by that, to be honest. But then I started collecting Romans because when Aetius and Arthur came out, because for as long as I can remember, I've been a Rome geek. So as soon as it was possible to play Romans, I knew I had to go for that. And then most recently, I read the Warlord Chronicles by Bernard Cornwell. Absolutely loved them, and so I decided I was gonna collect a Romano-British army and buy special figures for it rather than just repurposing my Romans.
Right.
Yeah, that's always the question. So cool. Do you guys have like blogs or websites with your models if anybody is interested, or you do that sort of thing?
Well,
no?
We have there are a couple of there's like a Poznań Facebook, like Saga Facebook page, and we throw stuff up there. We're gonna start throwing pictures up on the Polish Saga website more often. So that's it. It's more, that's most of what we do is through the sort of is through social media, Facebook, that sort of thing.
Yeah, okay. I've seen it. It's quite a nice gallery out there. Yeah, in Warsaw community there is no collective album for such pictures, but I got some of my own miniatures on the pictures in my album on my Facebook profile. So if anyone of you guys is interested, it is set to public. So if you find me on Facebook, you can just scroll it,
I'll get links from you guys for the Polish group and then your page there.
Great.
Okay.
Well, we'll definitely be linking the podcast on there once it's up. So
awesome.
Yes, that's right.
So
as soon as it goes air.
So let's talk a little bit more about the community, and I guess this is kind of interesting. We can see that you're in different places. I just assumed that you guys would be together, but in talking, you're actually quite far away from each other. So maybe some of these questions will be different between the two of you. But I guess, like, how popular is Saga in Poland? Would you say, and like, what's the miniature gaming scene like in general?
Well, about Saga, because I don't know about the miniature scene in general. I know that Chris plays, for example, X-Wing, so he can say more. Yeah. But as for Saga, which is my main interest, I can say that it's about 250 active people, which I counted, especially for this interview. It's like 250 people who I know that were active on the forums, that asked questions about the game rules, so they probably played. And we can deduce that about 150 of them are active players. But by which I can call all players who have their armies, at least one army, painted, and they know the game's rules by heart.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's probably like that, and there are 4 main centers of Saga community in Poland, which are Warsaw and Poznań, from which we came from, and there are also Wrocław and Bydgoszcz. Big shout out to my friends from Bydgoszcz out there.
Yeah, big shout out to the guys there.
Yes, because they are a lot of fun. And there are smaller communities in Białystok and Krakow right now growing. I just got the news that Krakow community is trying to grow some days ago. So Saga is growing strong in Poland, and that's why we came up with ideas which we can talk about later.
Indeed. Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, for my part, I would say that, the Polish wargaming scene is still probably dominated by 40K, Age of Sigmar, X-Wing. Those are the popular those are the most popular games, especially 40K, and the Games Workshop games are what a lot of people grew up playing, so that's continued.
Yeah.
But we've seen more and more interest growing in Saga. One of the things, the new edition really jumpstarted the community in Poznań. There was not much going on in Poznań. There were maybe half a dozen of us who met semi-regularly to play. And then with the new edition, we've got, we started meeting up at stores like once or twice a week even. So it's the new edition really got things going over here.
Awesome. That's glad to hear that. So it sounds like you have a pretty strong local gaming group, Chris. Is that the same with you, Jan? I guess how many people are you getting with, and like how regular? And you play at shops or people's basements or what?
Maybe not basements. We are not such nerds,
Yeah. Out of the shadows into the streets.
Yeah.
Come on, we've got college degrees and jobs. We're civilized now. We play in civilized places.
Yeah.
You know by now that Poland isn't the place where polar bears just
want to fight war. It's a bit too warm, that sort of thing.
Yeah. You're so edgy.
Nice.
No, but
over in Poznań we've got wild boar.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, around Warsaw too.
Sounds like
in Warsaw mostly hedgehogs.
Sounds like some Saga scenarios potentially to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys. But in Warsaw there are like 3 or 4 clubs which play Saga. I can say clubs because it's also a maze in English. But no, but there are like 4 places in which people play Saga, and each of these places has different number of people. I play mainly in independent gaming club FGB, which Polish name is too Polish to speak out loud for Westerners.
Sure.
Yeah, but FGB currently gathers around, I don't know, maybe 30 to 35 players which main Saga. Wow. And these are, many of them are veterans which just transfer between clubs because, they play where they want to. But we have also people who meet regularly. And there's also a strain of fresh recruits because I organize trainings in Saga every Monday. So many people joined in 2018 when we upstarted Saga community in this club. There were 3 other clubs have older, not eldritch, older communities, and they gather around 20 to 30 people each, I suppose no. Sorry. 20 people around in the second club. It's about less than 10 in the third, and probably also less than 10 in the fourth place. So something like that. We meet regularly, and each Monday and each month in FGB there is a Saga week when every day we have training, advanced training for players who know Saga, and also new recruits can learn because I'm always there for them.
Wow, Saga week. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. if I can say so. But there is also, if we can do it, there is also at least one tournament in the month. We started it in July 2018, and if we can, we organize one Saga tournament each month. The tournament in March, which is the nearest in time, will be dedicated to my after wedding party. So it's kind of fun because our community is very social. Of course, several exclusions, but we are very social guys. And in Warsaw and in Bydgoszcz, Poznań, Wrocław, those are those centers of Saga community.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, that kind of actually leads into what I asked about next, was about tournaments or campaigns. So it sounds like, are the tournaments just kind of kicking off here? Are they just getting started for you guys, or have there been popular convention tournaments or big events? How does that seem like for you guys?
Yeah, maybe you can lead off with this one, Yannick.
Why, Chris?
Okay. Fair enough. Well, no, I know Yannick's been getting the regular Saga tournaments and going in Warsaw. I mean, we've been trying to do sort of a monthly, maybe not a tournament, but just like an event where you come in, play a few linked games, so on and so forth, something along those lines. We've also, for a good few years now, we've done game demos and or like mini Saga tournaments at at various conventions. So there's like a big fantasy sci-fi general geekery convention called Pics, and Yannick's helped me run intro gaming there for, I want to say, 3 years now, something like that.
Yeah.
And then we also had like a big we also had a wargaming convention in Poznań that's organized every year, and we did like a small tournament there. And yeah, I mean, we've tried basically whatever. Yeah, I mean, for my part, whenever there's like a big convention or a big event, I try and make sure Saga pops up there, and it's not going to be any different this year.
Awesome.
Yeah, I have to say that I'm very grateful to you, Chris, because thanks to you, we can introduce even more people to Saga on PyrCon, which is a great event. And thanks for making me a little part of it. So I remember that we played probably the biggest battle in Saga Polish community history at PyrCon. It was 2 years ago.
Brunanburh. When we did the recreation, that was fun.
How many points?
We recreated Brunanburh, which was a great battle in 937 or 900.
Something like that. Yeah, I think it was. I think we did like 2 or 3 players aside, 6 points each.
Three players aside.
That's
6
what it
players battle. Yeah.
36 points. Saga on the field. Wow, it must have been fun.
I don't remember who won actually.
I remember that my Scots were fighting for Celtic coalition, and your Anglo-Saxons were playing for King Athelstan. Yeah, it was Athelstan.
I was playing Anglo-Saxons. I wasn't playing my Welsh. What?
No, you were playing Athelstan, and you had a unit of mounted javelin men, so you can say that you played Welsh.
Yeah. Okay. They were represented, and I think it was because we just. I think it was we didn't. We wanted to try and keep the forces as much as possible restricted to Anglo-Saxons versus Vikings, pretty much, because those were the main forces at that point.
Yeah, it was mainly due to logistic failure or something like that, because I remember that the coalition that fought at Brunanburg was mostly Celtic, and one of the guys was playing Norse Gales. Because of that, I was playing Scots, and I remember that it was very funny because this big 3 versus 3 battle just divided itself
into 3 separate one-offs.
Just fought the guy directly in front of you. And
Yeah, that's
moved
right.
on.
And then you yelled at the guy on the next to you to fight harder because you were pushing forward and he was not.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was fun.
That sounds fun.
But as for tournaments in Warsaw, you asked about events. I remember, yes. So we have those trainings and so on. We have a league in another club currently going on, and we had like the biggest, I suppose, Age of the Wolf campaign in Europe.
Wow.
Because I don't recall anyone telling me that it wasn't the biggest.
Sure.
And I don't know if USA had bigger, because we got it was at the peak of its popularity. It was 22 players playing Age of the Wolf together.
Wow, awesome!
Early.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, so it was great because it lasted 10 months, and it could be shorter, but when I tried to organize those 22 people, it was very hard. So it lasted. So, but we are very proud of it because we managed to to change history, because Bretons were so OP in the first edition, and we played like 1066. And we played 1066 to 67 to check if we could change the events of Stamford Bridge and Hastings, and actually. Harold Godwinson died like at the beginning because no one wanted to play Anglo-Danish or Anglo-Saxons, and we got 3 main forces, which were the vassals of Harald Hardrada, which were about 5 Viking players, and then we had like the vassals of of William the Bastard, which were Norman players, and then we had the Celtic coalition, which was led by the Breton player who said he will be fighting for independence of Brittany.
Cool.
And it was fun because he actually was at the lead of our ranking, and the Bretons, because of their OP-ness in the first edition, they just smashed everyone, but we had a funny situation because the points were counted in a very specific way in Age of the Wolf.
Sure.
And one of the Viking players got Bloodvoid, and he managed to acquire the objective of this void by killing the warlord who killed his warlord's father. And he did it by his warlord, so he gained 3 big points, which were like 3 won battles in one time. And he just dethroned this Breton player in the last season of campaign. Yes, so it was epic.
Snuck in there. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, that was great. And about the events we had, about conventions, we had a tournament on Comic-Con. There is Warsaw Comic-Con, and other cities. I don't know if other cities have Comic-Cons, but there was a tournament in 2018 on Comic-Con, but it didn't gather so many people as regular tournaments because Comic-Con was organized near Warsaw, not in Warsaw. So many people just said that we don't want to go there because we have other plans for weekends. So. But if a tournament is organized in Warsaw, we have always at least 10 to 12 players. The biggest tournament I organized had 16 players, and because we had the bigger room for that. Sure. And in Bydgoszcz, I recall that there were 10 people on the tournament when we went there with my student. A big shout out again there to Janek.
Actually, I would also add, as far as like the Saga communities are concerned, there is I guess I forgot to mention earlier, there is like a 5th community, Leszno. They play regularly. They used to organize tournaments every couple of months that we go to. So again, shout out to the guys in Leszno. Hope you guys are still playing.
They are great.
Well,
yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm just sorry that I don't have enough time to wander around those all communities and see how they work.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, we will. That's why we will have to find an occasion for us to all come together.
Yeah,
That's right, Chris.
Yeah. So we can get into that, but I'm just curious. So, do you guys favor Age of Vikings, Crusades, ATS, and Arthur? Your tournaments usually mix all that?
Well, Chris, how it goes in your community?
Okay. Well, again, we don't have a lot of quote unquote tournaments. I mean, we tend to
even just for general gaming and stuff.
For friendly gaming, we mix both of those fairly freely. I mean, a lot of people started with Age of Vikings, and then there's been a lot of interest in Age of Crusades once Age of Crusades kicked off once it finally came out in Polish. So that's when a lot of people got into. I think like half a dozen people bought armies. So yeah, Age of Crusades has also been becoming popular. Aetius and Arthur, a few people play, but it's definitely more of a niche.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because I suppose that we in Poland we don't have this strong connection with Aetius and Arthur period, because as Slavic people mostly, we don't have a Slavic faction to play, and even our greatest enemies of the time to play against. So there isn't much interest in Aetius and Arthur, but all people who are interested in ancient times and wait for Saga Age of Hannibal, they are playing Aetius and Arthur. In Warsaw there is mostly Age of the Vikings community, but with a big group of Age of the Crusades players from my club. We play Saracens, Odenstadt, pagan peoples, and Polish. Of course, we have like 3 Polish players.
Naturally.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious.
One of these days, I'm gonna cave and get a Polish warband. One of these days.
Yeah, I made even a guide for guys who want to collect Polish miniatures how to convert them, and it's available on Facebook. I suppose some people have seen that. But we can talk about it later.
Sure.
But if talking about the periods, we mix these for tournaments mostly. I know that in Wrocław and in Bydgoszcz they divided the periods, so they play only Age of the Viking tournaments or only Age of the Crusades tournaments. And when there was mixed tournament, there was big event in Wrocław. So again, big shout out to guys out there. And yes, well, it was, as Chris says, mostly because there are my Windows stopped working. How to say it?
Okay, I'm still here. I'll entertain
you.
There's none of the groups is stronger than other, I should say.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
So
there's
like
no balance issues that you perceive.
I don't know. I'd say. I mean, I only have fairly limited experience so far. Some of the Crusades factions, especially Militus Christi and Byzantines, are positively filthy when you compare them to some of the Age of Vikings factions.
Okay.
The Byzantines have a disgusting amount of shooting, and the automatic cancellation ability that the Militus Christi have.
Yes, autosave. Yes, it's Horizon ability. But it's not that powerful really when you compare it to like a basic ability of the Moors, which is like you can use it from each Saga dice you have, and it says that you can reroll every 1 and every 2 roll on your attack and defense dice, and if you use the rare Saga dice, you can reroll everything. And it's just one Saga dice, and it's one ability on the whole battleboard, so it's pretty powerful, yeah.
Yeah, but again, I think, I mean, as I said, I don't have enough. I wouldn't say I'm qualified to
No. That
speak
was not
too much
an
about the
offense.
balance. But at least from my experience so far, I mean, even, for example, the game I had against the Militis Christi, I was playing against someone who was not nearly as experienced as I am, and I was playing against a mostly mounted army, which my Welsh tend to eat for breakfast, because javelins, javelin infantry love cavalry. But the Orzon ability, even despite putting like successive volleys of javelins, or despite doing their wild charge and war dance combo, all the stuff that normally works and all the stuff that makes Norman players cry. The Orzon ability, I was able to do practically nothing. And then and then playing against the Byzantines, some of their shooting meant that I think I lost like 1 or 2 points in my warband in the first turn of shooting.
Yikes.
That's right, because Byzantines, we have one player actually in Warsaw who I think perfected the way to play Byzantines against certain opponents. He's my student, so I can be proud of him.
Okay, take some credit.
It's actually a very interesting story, because he's only like 15 years old, and he's currently one of the most entitled Saga players in Poland.
Wow.
Because he went
with me. What do you mean by entitled?
I mean that he was second in ranking on a tournament in Poznan. You can recall it because you organized it.
Yes.
He was second.
He
was second in Bydgoszcz, and he won a tournament in Warsaw. So I think that this gives him the most player
bragging.
So champion plays Vikings regularly, and he won like 3 tournaments in Warsaw. But it was only Warsaw, so I don't call him the most entitled player yet.
Well, as you can see, Yannick is very proud of his Padawan. Well, you give it a couple of years. I'll have a few of our younger players. Me and a few of our younger players will invade Warsaw, and we'll put you in your place.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You can say that, but we got also strain of fresh recruits there.
I'm loving this. Keep it going, guys. So
there's always been a bit of a rivalry between Warsaw and Poznań. So
I don't know if we can say so, because we were so far and disconnected from each other until now. But you can say that it was real rivalry because probably...
No, I'm talking about a historic rivalry between the cities.
Okay, that's right. That's right. Okay.
So I guess now we've been trying to set this up for a couple months here. So I believe the purpose of recording this was to announce or talk about like a grand melee in Poland. Is that what you guys are working on?
Correct.
Okay, so
it's historical moment, yeah.
Yeah, so is that info already out there for folks, or you guys are working on it? Give us a scoop.
We decided we'd announce it here first. We've talked to some people, but this is like the first public announcement that the project is going on.
Awesome.
So, prepare yourself. Grand Melee Poland 2019 is coming.
Yeah.
Excellent. So when is it happening, fellas?
It's I suppose first or second weekend of September. We are currently working on logistics, so I don't want to spoil the premiere, something like that. But yes, it will be like something like the first or second weekend of September.
Okay. So
in Warsaw.
In Warsaw, working on some logistics there, but cool. Mm-hmm. So, what do we think? Are we going to mix the factions? Going to be separate events on the different days, or how do you guys think you're going to going to run that?
You go with that one. You go with that one. Yeah.
Still working on her.
Yeah, you can now just picture myself as a bit of Saga geek right now. So that's why I'm so excited to tell this. But yeah, it was originally like the idea, which was born after the failure of Polish championships. Because there was a try, official distributors of Saga in Poland tried to organize Polish championships in 2018, but they announced it like a month before, and it was was organized far from any base of any community. So it was like side event of their event, and it failed. It was cancelled. So when I found out about it, I just felt like in kind of duty to manage my own community and relations with other community, how to say it, promoters, other Saga promoters out there in Poland to organize this big event, which will be Grand Melee Poland. We applied for official Gripping Beast patronage, and we got it in December 2018, but we just kept it secret so we can have big reveal in 2019. Yeah, and it's great. It's great just to work on it. I wanted to answer your question. Sorry, I got a little distracted. Yeah, but when talking about periods, we had a lot of discussions with Chris because we were both very invested and engaged in it.
You guys are going to run it together? Okay. So
yes, we are going to. I think that we are going to run it as the event designers, maybe something like that, and we are going to be main referees during the competition. We enlisted ourselves as referees, so we will not take part in the competition itself. But the event is organized by a federation of clubs because we thought that only with our combined forces we can organize such a big event.
Sure.
So we have FGB in Warsaw. We have several gaming clubs in Poznan, because I know that you, Chris, play many clubs. And we have
two.
Well, okay.
But we're going to get sponsorship from. There's a store in Poznan that's offered some sponsorship as well.
Yeah, Gripping Beast also offered us prizes immediately. So it was, I asked them for patronage, and they said, "Oh, something is going on in Poland. Well, do you want the prizes for it?" And it was like, wow, guys.
They're on top of it, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. They are great guys, really. But there is also a club in Wrocław, Bolter. It's called bolter.pl because it's also an internet shop with miniatures. And there is a hobby association from Bydgoszcz, this fourth Saga center in Poland, which is called Magma. So FGB, Poznan clubs, Bolter, and Magma are going to be like main organizers, main clubs, and I think that we can introduce the Białystok and Krakow communities when they go up too. Awesome. Because we want this to be like big event which just gathers all Saga players we can. And talking about those periods, Jesus. Talking about Age of the Vikings, Age of the Crusades, we decided to divide those periods. We had a lot of discussions because there were two concepts. We wanted to do this way and the way it will be done on German Grand Melee, which is to enlist every player.
Basically each player brings two factions, one from Age of Crusades, one from Age of Vikings, and you choose which faction before the game.
I'm about to
but this forces players to bring two factions with them, and we decided to take the second possibility, the second option, which was to enlist players with only one army, because there are many players in Poland which have only one army painted. We don't want unpainted or proxy miniatures, soda cans for warlords or something like that. So we thought that it would be easier to just to organize. So we will have Age of the Vikings division with 32 players cap, and Age of the Crusades division with also 32 players cap. So it will sum up to 64 players in an event.
Wow, that sounds amazing, guys. So good luck with that. Some of those details are hammered out. Definitely shoot them over to me, and I'll let the folks know.
In the process of being hammered out, indeed.
Yeah.
So cool. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on, guys. I'm reaching the end of my time here. So thanks for talking about yourselves, talking about your event, and I hope it goes well if we don't chat before then. But the quality here was good. I'd love to chat with you guys again, perhaps a faction review at some point. We could involve one or both of you. So cool. Well, thank you guys. And
thank you too, Rodge.
Yeah. Have a good 2019.
Yeah,
all right. Bye-bye.
See you.
Saga!